When I was about 6 years old, my mother came home for vacation from abroad after working at Saudi Arabia. She brought with her the very first handheld gaming device that I have ever owned, the Game Boy Micro. I did not really know that there were these wonderful things called gaming consoles, which played incredible games, so I was intrigued. After my mom left for work and spent at least 2 years more in Saudi Arabia, she came home once again, and this time she came back with a larger, even more powerful device, the PlayStation Portable. After a couple of years, my stepfather gave me a laptop, and it was a Toshiba laptop with 2 games in it, Medal of Honor, Allied Assault, and Max Payne 2, which absolutely blew my mind in terms of graphics and performance. Of course, the graphics nowadays would be outdated, but back then, in the day, it was the best there was. Since this was a laptop and not just a console, limited only to playing games, it had the most important thing that humanity has ever created in terms of evolution in the industries all around the world: the internet. 247 games, addicted games, armor games, stick page, congregate, miniclip, and many other more free online game sites were the goldmine for me. I did not have to beg for my grandparents to buy me games because online there were literally hundreds of thousands of games to play for free. I explored the wonders of the internet and watched YouTube videos which had free cartoons, and so much more were possible in this machine that I could not believe the power it possessed. Programming was the most intimidating subject for me in terms of looks and concepts, which were so foreign to me. I thought that this was a big mistake. At first, I had horrible grades in that subject, but through the process of learning by myself, I began to look for more sources online. I read articles, watched YouTube videos, started to do small simple projects on my own, and overall did not limit myself in learning only the materials that has been provided by the school or the teachers. This has taught me to explore every possible angle on a subject to fully understand and gain the ability to explain that subject simply and efficiently when teaching it to others. This is what I do now to produce the best output that I could possibly produce with my set of skills and abilities. I got used to programming and improved every day and quite enjoyed it afterwards. This is Vita, short for Virtual Teaching Application, the very first properly developed app that I have made. It was part of our final output for Android Studio app development. It was harder and more time-consuming than I initially thought, but it was fun and I learned a lot about programming in general. Vita is an educational app where students could test their academic abilities virtually through their phone rather than with a pen and paper. It features subjects from the STEM strand for grade 11 students, including reading and writing, science, PE, personal development, 21st century literature, and practical research. Each subject has 10 questions within them for the students to answer and try to get the highest scores at. The purpose for this in our research side was to see whether integrated technology through the implementation of Vita in the students' phones would be more effective in engaging them in their academic studies rather than the conventional pen and paper. Unfortunately, we have not successfully completed our research due to the pandemic hitting just when we are about to conduct our study. The things I have learned in developing this app introduced me to the frustrating side of programming. The first time I opened my IDE, Android Studio, it already had so many errors that I could not even start developing the app. I spent 3 days trying to fix the errors before finally making everything work. The development of this app also provided me an insight into the development technology of Android Studio and how people use the IDE to create complex and real-world applications that are being used all around the world by millions of developers. I learned the fundamentals of programming more clearly and precisely rather than in class because this time I was actually doing the programming instead of listening to what must be done and not knowing how a piece of code functions in an entire system. It was a lot to take in at first and was hard to manage, and my code was a mess looking back. But it is better to start by doing something rather than nothing. But I finished it and I am proud of what I have done. Since lockdown just started, I was stuck inside. This was my experimental project in trying to create games for the first time. It was way harder than making an app and required some knowledge of basic geometry and vectors, which kind of intimidated me, but I managed to make something work. I used Unity to create a 3D space and downloaded a map asset so I could code the mouse and look movements to explore the building, and I managed to create something that kind of worked. The code was much more complex and harder to understand than the simple fundamental logics of coding Vita. I managed to understand some code and managed to code something that was manageable. I made drink during the summer when I asked for ideas from my friend on what kind of app to do that would be fun to use. Drink is a drinking game app where up to 10 friends can participate in and submit their truths, and if people refuse to do both, they could choose to take a shot. After all the players have been entered, there will be a bottle that will spin and randomly land on one of the names, very similar to spin the bottle. After a name has been chosen, they could either choose to do a dare, answer a truth, or take a shot. If they have chosen either truth or dare, then they get to pick a card that contains the truth or dare that the other people have written down. It really sounds good on paper to me, and I even thought that it might be good enough to publish. But when I showed it to my friends, they really did not react that much and shrugged it off.
No thanks, bro.
It did not really disappoint me since I saw that it had some flaws and it was not effective at making things fun. So I disregarded the app and it is now just sitting in my laptop. After all that, I still learned a lot. I still could have improved on it, and looking back at the code today, it was not that good enough based on my knowledge nowadays. I also learned the importance of studying a market before doing anything. Your idea might sound really good and awesome when you talk about it, but it is very different when you execute it in the real world. A lot of people think differently with different traits and different wants, which makes it hard to develop a product that a wide range of people's interests can enjoy. Here is one more app that I made, which is just a teacher evaluation app where you could rate the teacher's performance of teaching. And the other things that I made were a bunch of websites that did not do from scratch and just edited them because I did not know how to structure and design websites using CSS and JavaScript, but know just enough to manipulate them in such a way to replace them with my own content and some other computer programs. And now I am developing an app for a client who wants me to create an app that utilizes a database in order to make their employees use it for security reasons. And this is not good UI, but the backend kind of works. Now it still needs a lot of refinements. I hope that one day I could call myself a software engineer and work a job that I enjoy and will never get tired of. Although I'm not good at mathematics, which every engineer should have a very solid understanding of, I at least want to be a programmer, and this is the only thing that I know that I want to do. This is what I think the only purpose I have in this world, and I'd like to improve in it as much as possible, and this is the only passion that I really have. And this is what I've been doing for about maybe 3 years now, and that is, there's still a lot of time to improve and move on to bigger things, and technology is a very broad and wide field that you could go into, and neither me nor you could explore all of them and learn all of them. So just like picking a wife, pick one, embrace one, improve on it as much as possible, and put a lot of effort into it, and you will be the best. You will eventually be one of the best. and I hope that this works out for me in the long term, because without this I don't really know what else I would do. It is the only thing that I'm capable of doing. So I hope that you could achieve your goals as well. And this was the best of me. This is what I did. This is what I do. And I hope that you would find your success as well. And that's it.